Buddy, this is a lawnmower I got about 7 years ago. It's a Homelight 24 volt battery powered lawnmower, 20 amp hour 12 volt, two of them for 24 volt in series 20 amp hour. How I have been charging this is when these are in series, the 24 volt output going to the motor, I just had wires coming out of here, and I would charge it with my 1AU universal charger. On the highest 24 volt setting, and it did pretty good, and it actually outperformed the factory charger, where I actually wound up with probably about maybe 50% more capacity, because I was able, at this other house I had, I was able to mow the entire lawn on one charge from the 1AU, but with the factory charger, when it said it was, when I had it charged all the way up, I was only able to mow the front and maybe about 1/3 of the back before the red light came on. There's like an indicator, battery indicator light on there. Red, low, medium, and high. And a yellow one first. But anyway, so what I'm doing is I'd rather charge it with the 12 volt trickle charger, or the 2A12 from TeslaChargers.com. That's the one that I'm going to be using instead of the universal one, so I can have the universal one, because it takes a little while to charge it up. This will be a little bit quicker, stronger charge, plus when I have a 12 volt setup here, I'll be able to put the solar charge controller on there and charge it in the sun, and be a lot more flexible. And so the way I'm doing it is, normally this is 12 volt positive, negative, and then the factory wire jumps these two to put them in series, so you got 24 volts. So what I'm doing is I took that wire off, and I got 3 switches here, which you can see right here. Okay, now the purpose of these switches is that this big switch here will disconnect the series connection so that the batteries are isolated from each other. Okay, so if we have positive here, normally the series connection is here, so we have positive here going through that winding or that wire to this side of the switch, and the other side of the switch we're going to negative. So when this switch is on, we have a 24 volt battery bank. When I turn the switch off, it disconnects that series connection, and the batteries are isolated from each other. So the two other switches, since this one is positive, I just have it jumped over to here, since it's in contact with the positive here, and then this side of the switch goes to the positive of the opposite battery, which means when that switch goes on, these two positives are paralleled, and then the black one here from the series switch, I have it jumpered over to this other switch right here, and then the other side of that switch goes to this negative. So what that does is it puts these two negatives in parallel. So again, the series switch goes off, it disconnects the series, and they're isolated. And then when I throw both of these switches on, it parallels, it puts the two black, or the two negative in connection, and the two red in connection. And then what I did was I took negative from here, since when they're in parallel, that negative is touching both negatives through the switch, and I have that coming down through here to this little screw, and then this positive, since it's going to be connected to that positive when the parallel switch is on, that's going to that screw. So you can see those two terminals right there. So this will be negative right here, and this will be positive. So again, I turn the series switch off, and then I turn the two parallel on, and I got 12 volts, so I can charge it. And when it's done, I disconnect the two parallel switches, I turn them off, then I turn the series connection on, and I'm back to 24 volts to run the lawnmower. So that's how I'm going to be doing the 2A12. So I'm going to screw this case back on, do it, test it real quick, throw it on there, and show that that's what's happening. Now the terminals that I took the 12 volt parallel off of, I did a negative from one battery and a positive from one battery. That's a pretty foolproof method for me to know that they are actually not in series or in any other condition, because when I measure the voltage on there, I'm going to get nothing. So I know that they're not in parallel. The reason is because if I took it from one battery, I'm going to have from both terminals on one single battery, I would always have a 12 volt reading there, so I wouldn't really know what the situation is. But if I have no voltage, they're not in parallel, and I will only have voltage here if they're in parallel. And you got to do this at your own risk. Make sure you're not going to be shorting the batteries out, catching on fire, and all that kind of thing. So anyway, parallel connections right here are off. This is a series connection, so I'm going to throw it on, and I should have 24 volts right here to run the lawnmower. Okay, so I'm going to throw the series connection off so it's no longer 24. The batteries are isolated from each other. Then I'm going to turn one terminal on and the other one. Now both batteries are in parallel, and I should get a 12 volt reading here. .63. Let's see. 12.66. So that's above full charge. Now if I disconnected one of these parallel switches, I got 1270. That means I'm reading the voltage of one battery. If I disconnected one parallel and did the other one, I'm reading 1268. So they're 0.02 of a volt different from each other. Okay, turn it back on. So we got 1270, so I can hook the charger up. Let's see, got to figure out which one is negative again. Okay. And I'll label these with stickers and stuff. Okay, so this is negative. And with the 2A12, if you hook it up backwards, it's not going to damage anything. It's pretty smart. Okay, so I got it like that. Okay, and so what I might do is I might put on like a large size washer that fits on, or a bolt or something like that, or maybe some acorn nut or whatever, just to have a bigger thing for these to grip onto. And what I might do is just plug up an end of a little vinyl tube, cut it real short, slip it over those so they don't accidentally get shorted out. So I just got to pull the tubes off and do it. But anyway, we're looking at 1280. This thing popped back up a little bit. It's connected to the charger. Now I'm going to plug the charger in here. Okay, it's charging. The red light's on. And we can see the battery up about 12.9. And basically just leave it on until the green light comes on and you're done. But what I like about this setup is I can also put my solar panels on there with the little S3A12, the 3 amp solar charger with 45-50 watt worth of panels, and just have it charging up when it's sunny. But anyway, so this is one way where you can take a 24 volt lawnmower and actually use the or the 2A12 or the solar S3A12. So right now it's a 12 volt 40 amp hour battery bank. I like to get lithium ions, but they're still lithium iron phosphate batteries, but they're just still so expensive right now. But this thing is pushing this thing right up. It's already pretty much charged up pretty good. Anyway, this is a simple solution. It only costs a few, you only need 3 switches. There's probably an easier way to do this, but and I use 10 gauge wire just to make sure that it's going to have a real good connection, and everything is clamped down pretty hard. So anyway, hope that helps somebody out there. TeslaChargers.com. That's the S2A12 or the 2A12. Okay, that's the 50 watts solar panels, the S3A12 charge controller. Right now it's not hooked up, but voltage is at 13.38. I can get that to focus. 13.38. It's the voltmeter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the S3A12. This sticker is peeling because I've had this out in the rain and I've abused it pretty bad, and it keeps on working just like new. But anyway, I'm going to hook this up to it, and we got a solar powered lawnmower, or solar charged. See, that's pushing it pretty good. When green light comes on, it's done. I don't know if those are like regular gel cells or AGMs. They might be like AGMs, and it's okay to push those to about 15. Gel cells, definitely 14.8 you want to stop it at. See, it's already at 13.86. I was charging it pretty good, and these are already pretty much charged up, but this is just for a demo. So you can do the, series is off, parallel is on, so I'm charging in 12 volts. Then when it's done, parallel off, series on, and ready to mow. It hasn't been that long, and it's already at 14.53. And I don't know if it'll be able to push it to 15 because these batteries have been pretty badly abused. But this also happens to be a handy battery because last year when the power went out, I used a 35 amp hour battery, and for a day and a half, that plus my Harbor Freight solar panels, not those, I hooked an inverter onto it and I ran my refrigerator, and it was enough to keep the refrigerator on until power came on. So I could just roll the lawnmower to my back kitchen door and hook an inverter and run my refrigerator on the lawnmower. So it's at 14.54. For 24 volt in series, 20 amp hour. How I have been charging this is when these are in series, the 24 volt output going to the motor, I just had wires coming out of here, and I would charge it with my 1AU universal charger on the highest 24 volt setting. Buddy, this is a lawnmower I got about 7 years ago. It's a Homelight 24 volt battery powered lawnmower, 20 amp hour 12 volt, two of them, 2A12 from TeslaChargers.com. That's the one that I'm going to be using instead of the universal one, so I can have the universal one because it takes a little while to charge it up. This will be a little bit quicker, stronger charge, plus when I have a 12 volt setup here, I'll be able to put the, and it did pretty good, and it actually outperformed the factory charger, where I actually wound up with probably about maybe 50% more capacity, because I was able, at this other house I had, I was able to mow the entire lawn on one charge from the 1AU, but with the factory charger, when it said it was, when I had it charged all the way up, I was only able to mow the front and maybe about 1/3 of the back before the red light came on. There's like an indicator, battery indicator light on there. Red, low, medium, and high. And a yellow one first. But anyway, so what I'm doing is I'd rather charge it with the 12 volt trickle charger, or the